OTT platforms have played a huge part in the content boom in India. This session tries to analyze the magnitude of the disruption caused by the growth of the numerous VOD platforms. Is this going to be the way forward for indie films? To answer these questions, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Deepti Chawla, Head of OTT NFDC Cinemas of India, who will be moderating the session along with the speakers, Mr. Atul Tiwari, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Mr. Aashish Singh, Director, Original Film, Netflix, Ms. Aparna Acharekar, Programming Head from Z5 India, and Mr. Swaroop Chaturvedi, Film Producer and Film Syndication's Aggregation and Licensing Specialist. Thank you so much. Over to you, Deepti.
Thank you, Lancy. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for making for this beautiful session. We're always curious about OTTs. I think it's a lifeline for indie filmmakers, and we always want to get updated with these, big platforms and know the latest trends. But before I begin the session, I have to inform you that Additional Secretary Sir would have to excuse himself. He has a flight to catch. And so, maybe begin with you, sir. First of all, good morning. How was the bazaar for you?
Thank you. This was the first time I went into bazaar and went around. It was quite lively. And
you were very involved this year.
Yeah, and met very interesting people as well. Quite unlike in my field of business,
And what do you think? Did you see a huge difference from Bollywood and mainstream filmmaking to what comes to Film Bazaar, and what is your opinion?
I have never really thought about that. Movies are movies, good movies are good movies.
Right. Sir, there's always a question that indie film maker wants to address. They don't have the budgets, and they would like to pass the theatrical journey since it's so expensive, and they look in the direction of OTTs. What can government do for them, or is government doing something about it that that's going to be out and it's going to surprise us?
If the government keeps on surprising, it's bad for the people. But I would say that see, this is basically there are so many movies who are not released, so there are different options now. And OTT, one of the big advantages of OTT is it also allows people to release their films, non-theatrical film releases. I always thought non-theatrical in the sense of drama, it's being theatrical and non-theatrical. So that is also one revenue stream, one way of opening that is there. And NFDC also has its OTT handle. And probably we will also have something on Doordarshan as well sometime. And then perhaps that can be utilized by these producers to release their films.
That will be very encouraging. Before you leave, I'd like to involve you all in a common question about the regulation. Aashish, how is Netflix taking care of self-regulation in content space?
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everybody. So, yeah, we are very conscious about the self-regulation code that we all have signed, with all the platforms. And what we are very conscious about is the creative freedom that we give content producers. So we feel that they should definitely get a chance to voice and showcase whatever they want to showcase. We also want to give the consumers a choice to choose what they want to watch. So there are these ratings and stuff like that. You have your log line where you can decide. There are profiles created within Netflix where you can control the kids from watching it. Right. So we like to give the creators a choice and the freedom to create what they want to do, and the consumers the choice to watch what they want to watch.
But isn't it because this is what Netflix International does? You haven't really changed anything for India, or did you have to make a lot of changes to come to India?
No, not really. I mean, we've not really changed much because, like we said, Netflix believes that we need to give the creative freedom to people who want to create what they want to create.
Right. Aparna, from one of our homegrown OTTs, Z5 from India, what do you think about self-regulation? How are you guys managing?
Having run TV channels for so many years, S&P has always been part of the process. So S&P, as far as OTT content goes, hasn't really been any different process. You know, we have a lot of custodians sitting back, you know, or custodians of all sorts sitting back at home trying to curtail, you know, trying to give regulatory advice on what we should be putting out and not. We've additionally implemented the parental lock system also. So as a parent, if you don't want your children to come across certain type of content, you can selectively say that anything that's rated, say 18 plus on the platform is not exposed to my child at all. So along with ensuring that the consumer is informed about what is it that he's about to watch, there are enough safety mechanisms for parents also to ensure that children are not exposed to anything they wouldn't want to.
So government bodies have been having multiple layer conversations about self-regulation. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I must tell you that we had a consultation on this subject in Mumbai and also in Chennai. We had called the people from Netflix, Z5.
Right.
Our legal people had also come. The common consensus is that it's an emerging area where the film viewing is taking place based upon the internet, and the old frameworks which were there for the print and film or TV should not be applied. There needs to be a different treatment. At the same time, there was consensus was that there is a need for some amount of regulation. Maybe our secretary said code of conduct, or there is how you like to, some kind of avowal of objects and how you like to control yourself. And ultimately, it's the self-restraint which is going to be more important. But there was also a talk on who will do that and whether all the OTT providers should come together. They are not as yet. Some of big names have been not there in the list, so maybe they should come together so that there is some amount of enforcement. In a sense, there is some respect for these guidelines and some deterrent action for the people who violate those guidelines. These are the three areas around which the discussion is going around. And we hope to have another round of discussion, maybe one or two more, certainly in Delhi and some other cities, so that we understand the views of the people. But I assume, I think the regulation, if it takes shape ever, it will take shape around these lines, broad lines only. But having said that, I have gone through some of the OTT platforms as well. And it allows certain amount of creativity, but in the name of the creativity, it should not go berserk, in that sense. So through this platform, I would also like to, what shall I say, request the OTT platforms to not get berserk in sense of violence, in sense of sex, in sense of other, which many of the creative people think that which is going to sell them. But ultimately what is going to sell them is a good narrative, good picturization, good quality stuff. So that is what I would like to say about the regulation.
While that's the content, do you see any challenges in logistics of implementing this self-regulation?
Challenges are like, see that it's not possible for anybody to monitor the regulations on continuous basis.
Right.
So there is that factor is very important. Second is, if you control that, then you control so many other things which you may not like to control.
Right.
So you can't take it out separately, OTT, beaming, or whatever, streaming, and let other things continue. So there's a question of whether it is possible. Question is whether we can do it. We can do it, but what cost? And whether there is going to be any use. I mean, we will be using so much of taxpayers' money for controlling. Certainly we can monitor. But is it going to lead to anything? While doing that, whether it is going to stifle the creativity, it's going to stifle the, because India is poised to become a big market, big area, big, what shall I say, center for content creation. And we'd like India to take a lead in the content creation. So that is also very important. So these are the factors which will keep us, what shall I say, on this sane ground, and devise a method by which the people, the OTT providers and the government, they are also on the same wavelength and they agree not to do certain things rather than do certain things. So I think that will be the ethos around which we would like the regulation to take place.
That's encouraging. Talking about big, I just want to share some numbers with you. According to a report by Redseer, the Indian OTT market is projected to grow 80% from 170 million in 2019 to 300 million by 2022. So we do understand, you know, where the pressure can come from. Aparna, Z5 originals, how's the journey been?
The journey has been excellent, very, very encouraging, and we continue to grow every single day. We've launched originals across Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. We dub all the content that we produce in one language across all Indian languages and about 8 international languages. We have a global presence now, so if you want to watch, say, a Rangbaz or, you know, Karanjit Kaur
This
in
is dubbing
Spanish.
or this is subtitles?
Dubbing and subtitling. Subtitling, of course, you know, we've seen the Indian audience not very happy with subtitles. We've got responses like, बहुत जल्दी जाता है. No, वो बोलता है और उसके नीचे से लिखा हुआ बहुत
That's
जल्दी
always
जाता
a
है. That's the
challenge,
reality of the mass Indian audience that a Z5 caters to. Those of us sitting in the room are no representative of what the Indian audience really is like. We've launched close to, this year all around, we are launching 72 plus originals across languages that include series as well as straight to digital films. So that's a very exciting part for us. And then of course the commercial films that we launch every, say, 2 months or 3 months depending upon the rights we have.
Swaroop, I'd like to involve you here. You syndicate content for the big ticket Bollywood films to indie filmmakers. You've done a phenomenal job on NFDC's film catalogue since 2016. What are the challenges that you face when you approach OTTs with indie content?
Okay, so this question's asked me a lot of times, and I'm going to just simply slice and dice it for everybody's consumption. So see, what happens is, I'm a filmmaker also, I'm producing films now, and I also started off in licensing and syndication. I came from a television background where I headed a movie channel, and I looked after acquisition, and I changed sides. Now it's been a little difficult journey for me when I started off on the syndication business. What happens is, with regards to OTT in the last couple of years, what's changed and what is the challenge for filmmakers is that all streaming platforms now have data. Last 2-3 years, data is playing a big ticket proposition for platforms to know what kind of films should they license, should they commission as an original film, or a film which is not going through theatrical and wants to go to OTT. How is that journey happening? So now, there are a couple of checks. Now, if you look at most OTT platforms, the tier 1, the tier 2, they have their budgets in place for a certain financial year. There is their service. And the third important thing is the consumers. I mean, each OTT platform has a very different consumer profile. So niche audiences are moving towards Netflix, mass audiences are moving towards Z5, and regional. I mean, in fact, Z5 has done a great job in programming regional content. Netflix is there for people who like curated and very nice content, which is worldwide global content. So what happens in this mix is that I've understood that most OTT platforms have 3 ways of planning their entire content. One is the strategic bit of it, which is got a larger consumer base, which again is Bollywood driven, big studio driven. The second is the need gap, which is performance-based films for which data matrix are available, franchisee films. And the third and the most important one, which is relatable to all of us here, is the tactical content planning, which is marquee films, which is independent films, and which is, indie films. Now, it becomes a challenge because, I feel, and I mean, I'm happy to have an argument or a discussion, that I find OTTs are now, traversing the line that pay TV was about 15 years ago.
Oh my God, you said it.
Yeah. So what was free TV earlier is now free VOD. What was pay TV earlier is now SVOD or TVOD. But the good thing is that, there is a house for each kind of content. So if filmmakers get disappointed that their films are not coming on Netflix or Amazon, you have a movie coming into India. You have a Cinemas of India. You have the Amazon Prime Video Direct model in India. You have an Apple iTunes. I mean, you just need to get the movie out there. So the challenge is, there are 4 or 5 metrics that I have had to encounter when licensing independent films. And they're pretty much similar to Bollywood films. So they go through a lot of data points that, what's the typical cast in the case of a commercial film, and in the case of an indie film, what's the novelty in the story? How is the IMDb tracking? How's the online buzz? What's the publicity? And a great factor that, interests, buyers in OTT and programming and acquisition is how many festival rounds has it done? Has it got enough olive wreaths on it? What kind of awards? So these are basic, filters that they use, and also they track performance of indie films that they've had on their platform to see what's, missing. Is it good to get into it? But as this ecosystem changes, what's happening is that, they're putting out less capex on licensing films, but investing their expenditure on creating films, which is the IP that they actually own. So it is a challenge, but it's again very tactical, and sorry, but it's also very opportunistic when OTT platforms, there's a season that, okay, Mami is happening, Oscars happening, these films were running, let's go get these movies. So it's not strategic, it's more tactical.
Can I beg to differ?
Yes,
That'll be,
of course.
In fact, the last one is not tactical anymore. Possibly 2 years back when we started off, and we didn't know how exactly, and at least I speak for Z5 because we represent the Indian masses. We weren't sure how exactly this would sit, but I have a slate of 20 original films already commissioned at some stage, Something has just been greenlit, something is already on floor, something is, and it has been planned such that it actually caters to all taste clusters. So if I have someone who's watched a Dream Girl on my platform, I know what kind of content I'm going to serve him. Or if somebody will come and watch a Sant Ki Aankh or has watched Tashkent Files or Accidental Prime Minister, I'm programming something from my library for him. So it used to be tactical, and I don't deny that, but now it's very measured, strategic. We know what our release date's going to be. We know what kind of content, and we are actually happy to take pitches, that can help us do the strategy well, because right now we are still looking at data. We are making, sometimes we go a little ahead and then the project doesn't look as a little.
But tell me honestly, wouldn't you back it with your data? Wouldn't you look for pitches and scripts that are performing well on your platform?
We will, but see, we are at a stage where our data sets are also continuously evolving. It's not like we launch a show and then we get a new audience set. So we've actually, all audiences have been now grouped as per taste clusters, and those taste clusters keep evolving. It's no longer as simple as you're a 18 to 24-year-old urban male from this city. We don't even look at that demographic anymore. That's so incidental to the data. It's really more taste cluster based. So these are new age women stories, for the matured women. These are new age stories for the younger woman with a different set of aspirations. Now, if I have to have a sustainable subscription business and make that woman keep paying me month on month, I'm going to need something that she's going to like. She's not going to like my Rangbaz because, there's possibly a little more violence and it's about a gangster from a UP or a Punjab, and that's not the kind of stuff she likes. But she'll like a cold lassi chicken masala, she'll like a Broken but Beautiful, and which is why we are, we tied up with Alt, because no one better than Ekta Kapoor knows how to make content for that woman, right? So,
In fact,
So what are you watching personally?
Well, my wife does some binge watchings, but we generally go for good movies, and I'm afraid when I go through the Netflix or etc., very rarely you find some content which you like to watch, because generally there's all kinds of movies are there. So I am generally gravitate towards serious stuff, more documentary, more classy stuff, and slow.
So which OTT is catering to you, sir? It'll be insightful
I have
to know.
all. I think we have all. So.
In fact, Deepti, I'll just add, there's a very unhealthy indicator as well, which most of us will be shocked, and it's not the right thing to measure the content affinity on a platform, but a lot of platforms and a lot of television broadcasters also look at unhealthy digital piracy data. So what happens is, how many torrent downloads has the film had? How is it tracking all over the world? They just keep a check, this movie is great, I mean, let's go buy it. So that's when it's tactical. So they want to get it off. And that's one of the reasons why windows are getting curtailed in India when a movie is going into theatrical and is going for an OTT premiere. Most platforms will request you to curb that window so that it doesn't get into that piracy window.
Well, come to think of it, all festivals want a premiere. Because the moment it premieres on one festival, the film gets pirated. And there is no novelty behind it. Taking from Aparna's regional, content that's doing so well in Z, I was with you at Producers Workshop, and it was really insightful to know that Netflix is finally making its originals in India that we've been waiting for so long, but in Hindi.
So yeah, that's a valid question. But currently we are consolidating ourselves in the Hindi space. So we are making originals in Hindi. But at the same time, we are licensing a lot of regional content. So you get to see films that are from Kerala, Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Bengali, any industry that you can talk of. So they are there. They are licensed on our platform. And we are we know that that's, a subscriber base that we should be kind of catering to soon. But once we've consolidated our Hindi base, we will definitely look at doing some regional
So you're
originals.
open to it?
We're open to it.
When can we all attack you? Which month? Which
I
year?
won't be able to commit that yet. I'm sorry.
Okay. Sir, would you have to leave? No, sir. No, sir. We're completely. Thank you so much
sir.
for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Sir, Additional Secretary, Information and Broadcasting. Thank you, sir. Yes, speaking of piracy.
Forget the fact that I took the name, but there's this popular piracy site called Tamil Rockers. And when we put out the dubbed version of Karanjit Kaur in Tamil, they put an announcement on their site saying most downloaded,
Yes,
most
we
downloaded
know about
content.
that.
No, we didn't know if we were happy or sad. Because you're actually telling me my content is doing very well, but and you're saying that people are watching it, but they're watching it all pirated. So it was kind of a good thing to say that yes, content is working. We as creators made the right decision, but as a platform, of course, it's a huge loss when.
But that's world over. I don't think anybody can control that. I mean, technology, while it's an enabler, it is going to backfire. I mean, we all are Game of Thrones fans because of piracy, not because it came to us originally, and then Hotstar took the cue, and then they acquired it. Swaroop, people don't, people those who come to Film Bazaar, they often dream of theatricals, and there's so many films that come every year. And we also at NFDC get hounded by these filmmakers, how to enable them, how to mobilize their films. What is it that we can do? What is it that they come up with? How do we,
So I'll put this in perspective. Every filmmaker wants to have a good theatrical release, but the challenges are, of course, the commercials. They don't have huge P&A investments. Many people, many film financiers that I work with in Bombay on Bollywood projects do not want to risk their money into such projects because...
But they don't get selected at
So I'll
OTT
tell you, I'll come to
easily.
this, I'll come to this. So what one can do, and I was mentioning this at the producers workshop, is in case they want to go for a theatrical release, they should do a boutique release with a platform like Avakao, where they can decide, they can decide that they want to go wide, they want to go medium, they want to go low, depending on the kind of commercials available with them for the theatrical part. Now, if it's not really important that, if you've, not done that journey, because today you'll see great Bollywood films also are skipping the theatrical process and are coming to a platform like a Netflix or an Amazon or a Z5. Now, I must, cite an example that movies like Tigers, which was lying in cans for about 7-8 years.
Not that cans.
Yeah, not in cans, but in cans. So that movie finally found an audience and found a licensor in Z5, and they promoted it. It didn't go to the theatrical, but yes, Z5 was very flexible in terms of letting the producers do some theatrical releases in some territories of the world that they really wanted to showcase the films in, and it traveled the festival journey. So it's really not, if it's really the wish of the filmmaker to release it in theaters, well then, they can do it with the boutique release.
No, I want all three of you to honestly tell me, why is it that a filmmaker needs to go to a theatrical to become worthy of your attention? Why cannot we bypass the theatrical and
can I
just...
take this?
Yes, please.
So basically, we are creating originals. So what stops them from creating originals? And
They have their own stories, they've already made it, they're somewhere stuck in the middle, they're looking for showcasing. They had no idea about Netflix's mandate, but they want to communicate, they want to talk about their film. How can they approach OTTs and not have... We had a layer, whenever we sit down and do syndication deals, all platforms want to know box office numbers, how many theaters did it do. Sometimes it's not possible. What do we do?
So Deepti, there's an indicator before, Aashish gives us his insight. There's an indicator. So if the film has not gone to box office, does it have the curve of traveling at festivals and being recognized? Is the concept high? The actors may be, from theater or not known actors, but has it created some kind of a buzz? And is it traveling? Is it moving? Or is it just lying stagnant? Is there worldwide recognition? Are platforms in Europe or USA tracking these films and asking them to get it licensed at that stage? So these are healthy indicators. Now, in case they are not, well then all's not lost. That's what, we discussed at the producers workshop, that in case an OTT platform is not tracking your film, it's a different story. There are alternative mediums of licensing your films. You can go on to OTT on a revenue share basis, you can go on to a TVOD, you can go on to an electronic sell-through, you can go to PPV, and then explore the traditional methods of licensing to television, local channels, if it's a film in Malayalam or in Kannada or in Tamil or in Telugu, why not? Movie needs to go out there to get recognized. It has to travel, it has to be seen. Instead of just waiting, oh, my film needs to go on OTT. Well, that's prestigious for all of us, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
There are a lot of checks and balances. Now, I must tell you that profiling is done for customer base on OTT. What are they watching? What's the trend? And if it's not falling in those filters, that's one of the reasons that OTT platforms will not want to license it, because it's, there's so many films coming, at one time. Which is that one film or 5 films from that bucket that they would like to take? Now, what happens is 5 films are taken out of 15. Well, if my film doesn't get selected, grapes are sour. But you also need to understand the challenges that, an OTT or a television broadcaster has in filtering the kind of content and acquiring that kind of content. But there is enough, revenue streams already available now in India. You look at Prime Video Direct model, they're putting films, it's on the same carousel. There's no differentiation between an MG deal or a Prime Video Direct deal. It sits on the same carousel. It's just that if the content is sticky, if people are watching it, and they're following the consumer streaming data all through the process of the film. So they have healthy indicators. I mean, I know about a film which is done almost about $50,000 on the Prime Video Direct model. I don't want to name that film. But yes, I mean, it was not sold on television. It didn't get an MG deal, but it's still doing well.
Did Swaroop beautifully cover you both?
We've never insisted really on having theatrical releases. In fact, we encourage the fact that you have good films and they are, they sit as part of the taste clusters that we currently have or we want to evolve on the platform. We are very happy to do direct to digital. Tigers, of course, like you said, for 7 to 8 years was in the cans, and then Tiger's done so well for us, whether it's engagement. Cabaret too, Richard does Cabaret too. So people want to see good content. There's very limited time that people have. If you're expecting that somebody is going to whatever compete with their sleep or time with their family or a night out with friends and binge watch you better give them good content. And if you have good content, people are ready to give you that time. So yes, curating content, and we don't want content that's exposed too much. From our point of view, when a content gets exposed too much, when we buy theatrical, say films, commercial films, then they're exposed in theaters. More often than not, a television channel has a deal, and then we get our deal as digital. The more the window between that, the value of that film for our platform actually decreases because more people have got exposed to it. So, and which is exactly why we are running after creating our own IPs, right? Because my own IP means that it's exclusively available. A good piece of content is exclusively available to consumers of my platform. He doesn't have to go anywhere else. For example, a Dream Girl. Now today the Dream Girl audience I get is the one that hasn't seen it in theaters. Some people who are waiting to watch it on television when it comes. So it's only the pure OTT audience that's now remaining for me. But if I have a good film that's exclusively to me, then I get all of these audiences. I get the movie viewers, I get the TV viewers, and I get the OTT streamers also. So it's actually beneficial for us when people don't do theatrical.
That's good news for us.
It's possibly more in our thoughts कि theatrical चाहिए ही. Like my South team keeps telling me, मैडम नाम के लिए कुछ थिएटर्स में कर देते हैं, अच्छा पब्लिसिटी मिलेगा, मीडिया आके लिखेगा, क्रिटिक्स लिखेंगे. These critics are not writing movie reviews of digital films only. We have to go behind them. They're also busy writing about theatrical releases. So कुछ 2-3 इसमें कर देते हैं, press conference बुलाएंगे, फिर exclusively डालेंगे. So that's really how the industry is working there. But we are encouraging people to directly come to us. If you have a good concept, come with the concept. We are happy to fund it. If you have a film that's already made, we can have a screening. We can all agree. We can all agree to, if you're still at the post stage, we can creatively also give you some input so that at the end of the day, it's so that the film works with the platform, right? And we give you more work to do. So, yeah.
I mean, this is also more open than what you were saying. So they don't even track reviews, critics' remarks, and the journey. If somebody really goes with no opening anywhere and knocks on Z's door, they are willing to look at it. Wow. Aashish.
Yeah, so we are also very open to such content. The big challenge on a platform like Netflix is that quality is very important in terms of the way it's been shot. And that's the deterrent. I agree with everything that you all are saying, but there are times when things are pitched to us and we love the trailer, but the camera that it's shot on or the sound or the VFX, that kind of just does not match our quality standards. And that is something that comes in the way of, kind of greenlighting it.
Beautiful. If you want to make money, you have to spend the money. We get that. I would like to open this forum for questions, and are the mics around? Lancy? Yeah. Please.
Yeah, very good morning to the panel. Just I wanted to understand how in OTT for any films you have streamed, what is the benchmark for whether it is success or flop, like which we have in box office like that? What is the
who's taking that?
And one more question to especially to Aashish. There is why I asked this because this month you have streamed directly Dharma Productions Drive on the Netflix, and there was a lot of buzz. It was a wrong choice by Netflix, which they did not. Yeah, thanks.
So I'll answer both your questions. We definitely get data on a daily basis to know, how the title is performing on a platform. So that kind of gives us a feedback of how many people are watching it. what is very important for us is how many people sign up for it, as in start it, and how many people then complete it. Because there are times it's so easy on a streaming platform, you start a film or a series and you get bored and you just switch off and start something else. So the completion rate is equally important to us. It's just not how many people who are clicking to, start it, but how many complete it. So that's one data point for us to, kind of understand whether the title is performing or is being liked or not liked. I won't get into it deeper in terms of what is that data that makes it successful for us, because I can't talk a lot about it. But like box office, we get the data all over the world, how the title is performing and how many people are watching it, how many hours have they watched it, how many seasons have they completed it, at what episode did they leave that particular series, if at all. So that also kind of indicates to us. I won't take names, I won't be able to take names right now, but there was a title recently that we had launched. We suddenly realized that after the 4th episode, people are dropping off, which means something didn't work post that. So these are things that kind of give us a feedback. To answer your tricky question about Drive, see, we are creating content for all moods, okay? We are still discovering. We are trying to reach out to a wide audience. We are trying to create,
You're saying this from India chapter?
Yes, because he so specifically asked about Drive, I think. And we want people, there are times when you are in a mood to lean into a content. There are times when you want to lean back and watch a content. So we have to give you content of, various genres, types, and then it's up to you to consume. We totally understand that everybody may not like a certain type of content, and we also learn with each title that we launch.
So there is some data, which I can share with you. I'm carrying some of it. What happens is that, profiling of customers, each OTT platform does a profiling of its customer base. And I'm carrying so much data, I'm getting lost in translation with that. What happens is that, most telco-operated OTTs, hybrid OTTs, which are broadcast VODs, or pure vanilla SVOD OTTs, they have this metrics that, they see how much of, 4G data has got penetrated in which state, and how many are there that they can penetrate into. And then they do the profiling of customers, and they decide on the content selection that is required to get new customers onboarded. So that's, and most of it is data driven. We had this whole thing in television also, when television moved from TAM to BARC, and niche content was killed. Today English content, niche content on English GECs is almost gone. It's almost over because of the OTT presence in India. Movie section in Hollywood in India is almost on its deathbed because of moving such dynamics. And then the happy model for all of us would be, for filmmakers, for studios, distributors, content owners, is that you have options to put your film out. If a TV is not buying it, an OTT is going to buy it. If an OTT is not buying it, a terrestrial is going to buy it. There need to be immense, platforms available for you to move around, which is very important, and that's what the healthy trend should be. There's enough for people to play, and I was asked a couple of questions that, will TV stay or will it die? Well, I'll tell you in this forum, it's here to stay, because India is a single TV household. And it is always going to be one window, which is always going to be there, existing, no matter what people say, fancy numbers, fancy discussions. It's going to coexist with OTT.
We'll take the next question. The lady there. Oh, yeah, please go.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I wanted to ask, now with the current, with the kids born in 1999 onwards, since they have been exposed to internet and now OTTs, so how is Z5 and Netflix going through data sets and AI and figuring out the kids market and trying to push content for when they go from pre-teen to teen and then from teen to adult? How is that happening? And is it scary in terms of AI?
Aparna, would you like to go first?
Those born in 1999 are about 20 years old now, 19 to 20, so adults. and they're watching pretty much the stuff all matured individuals watch. So they're clearly not, I mean, it's not the teenage zone or anything like that. Clearly from an Indian perspective, and I have to admit, Netflix does a great job with all its international content, especially catering to the tweens, the 12 to 14-year-olds who don't really sit in any category. In India, we don't make much for them. We think animation is for the kids, so you'll only make the Chota Bheem types, and then there is one that we make for the 18 plus sort of an audience. There is a huge gap. We want content. Z5 is looking for content that is for the 12 to 14, 15, 16 year olds. And yes, I mean, the 19-year-olds are watching everything that all of us are watching. I mean, we haven't seen, it's not like they are stuck in wanting to watch those mushy romance or more aspirational kind of stuff. They're watching everything. In fact, they're starting quite early. We see some of them, give their age as above 18 and start watching a lot of content that's meant only for matured individuals.
Aashish?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even our data just suggests that, an adult kid now or kids in their late teens are watching practically everything. Obviously, because I'm representing Netflix, I mean, they are watching a lot of international content. And like Aparna said, we have a lot of YA content, so to say, in English. And people are really watching it and liking it in India.
Hi.
Next.
Yeah, my question is just to take that point further, as we were discussing earlier.
Sorry, can you speak in the mic?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, so just to take the point further about the self-regulation discussions that are happening with the government. My question to Aashish is that, first of all, how do you see this actually getting implemented as you go forward? And secondly, do you think you're going to have separate parameters for your international content when it comes to self-regulation compared to your Indian content? What kind of parameters do you see yourself establishing for self-regulation?
Yeah. So, principally, I mean, what we are doing is we want to give the freedom, like I'd mentioned earlier. We want to give the freedom to the creative producers to kind of create the kind of content they want to create. And at the same time, give the freedom to people to consume the kind of content that they want to consume. So there is freedom on both sides, and to answer your question, whether it's going to be different for India and for the international programming, I mean, I don't really have a very clear-cut answer yet because the code is still being evolved between all the other platforms and us. But currently the stand is that we will continue to support the creative producers so that they have the choice and the freedom to make what they want to create. And at the same time, we are giving the options to the consumers to kind of choose what they want to see.
Thank you.
In fact, our discussions with the ministry and sir's not here, but have been very encouraging. And unlike what we feared it would all be, they've been very, very encouraging. They're very open. They don't want to be regressive at all. So they just want us to respect the law of the land, which I think all of us as OTT players have been very happy about it. We've said whatever is illegal as per the law of the land, we'll ensure that all of that is even abided by. Yeah, and they've been very supportive. They've been holding a lot of sessions, actually talking to us, trying to understand what is our standpoint. They're talking to our legal team. They're talking to a lot of creators. So hopefully something positive should come out of this for the entire industry.
The lady there, yes.
Hi, I'm Lakshmi. I'm a filmmaker. My film is in the Indian Panorama section this year, and it is with Z5. Yeah, the satellite rights are sold to Z Tamil.
Wow.
So what I want to know is, I wanted to reach out to a wider audience because the film has very less dialogues and it has a universal appeal. So is there a possibility to dub the film in other languages? Or
Have you given us the dubbing rights?
No, not yet. So I want to know whether your competitors would look at the dub film or a bilingual, or is there
Very
any...
specific question. We were hoping to address a larger audience, but please
No,
take
I
it.
think this will appeal to the larger audience also. There are so many other filmmakers here who have made the film, and they want to know whether...
So are you asking if dubbed films?
Yeah,
if we are okay with dubbed films on the platform?
Yes.
We are, right, because
Okay.
whatever we create, we dub it across languages. We have Pablo Escobar on the platform, and Pablo speaks Hindi, Tamil, Telugu. Right?
But no, what
Very
I wanted to know
fluently.
is, if the original film is with one platform, will the other platform encourage or welcome the dubbing version?
I mean, I won't be able to say yes to your specific film yet, but in the past, I mean, we have co-licensed the
that's what I
films
wanted
that
to
release in
know.
the theaters.
I took an example.
So
that's
there are
all.
many films that have been co-licensed that are running on other
course,
platforms,
like
running on our platforms.
Pablo in Spanish sits on Netflix. In Indian
Okay.
languages, sits on Z5.
Yeah, because there is a blog, you know, we don't, this is a platform where we could directly ask the question.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is a block, you know, there is a divide between the makers and, you know, it's very difficult to reach you. So I have spoken on behalf of a lot of filmmakers here. It's not a specific question.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You go first.
Hi everyone.
It's
Yeah,
working.
Yeah. So continuing with his question, is it? Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Continuing with his question about content for teenagers and everyone, I wanted to know what's the censorship and what do you see censorship in the future? Do you see censorship to OTT platforms to be regulated, and how? What are your thoughts about it?
So we've been talking about this self-regulation code. So all the platforms have come together and they'll be regulating the content that will be played out on the platforms, the respective platforms. And so we're giving creative freedom to the creative community to kind of come up with stuff, and we don't really curb them unless it's really against the religion or political or any of that.
Do you see like a board committee that will be formed for this censorship or for, for everyone?
So if it's self-regulated, there's no censorship, right? I mean, like otherwise, unless like Aparna said, there's something that comes up as the law of the land, and then we will of course follow that.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rashesh Purohit from Showtime Syndicator. You guys are S-White models, and right now so many A-White models are in the market. So how you look at it?
The opening up of AdWord, the curious, section.
Do you want to?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what's happening on AWOD essentially is older library is what's getting traction. I mean, this was something which was also discussed at AFM.
Yeah, old is gold and
Yeah, so
library
old is
back.
gold. So what is happening to old library? I must give you this analogy. So the last 2-3 years, big players who came into India in the OTT space bought and did output deals with big studios. With them came their libraries. Even with independent producers who held about 25 to 30 films or negative right holders, or what we say in the Bollywood trade, negative right holders. What's happened is the films that are on the SWOT window, which is the premium window, are mostly newer films. The older films are getting programmed into AWOT because there the deals are getting different because they have their data which says that newer films have traction, and there are few films in Bollywood which keep doing very well on their platform. But they are now moving into the AWOT models because now there are AWOT models available, like an MX player is available in India. They've done a lot of movie licensing deals purely on AWOT. There's no SWOT, there's no TWOT. And you have to be very careful where do you want to be. Do you want to be under the AWOT model? Do you want to be under the FWOT model? Or do you want to be on SWOT? Now so maintaining the hygiene of the film is very important for the longevity of the film. So if you want to protect your film, you probably don't want to put it on an AWOT, but you'll probably put it on a TWOT or an SWOT, depending on the kind of commercials that you've negotiated. Are you doing a revenue share? Are you doing a flat fee? Whatever you're doing. So AWOT is going to come in. I mean, it's big in China. AWOT was always there. I mean, YouTube is a classic example. Everything was AWOT. And then came the SWOT models. Netflix came, Amazon Prime, HBO Max comes next year into 2021, they come into India. So this model of AWOT, SWOT, TWOT will also coexist. And there's enough room for everybody to feed these kind of OTT players with the kind of content that they're looking at. But you have to know, what do you want to give? You have 10 films, you want to put 5 under the paywall, put 3 under the FWOT, that's your discretion.
So while it is good to look at it from the lens of the maker, and most of you, look at it from the lens of a consumer, because possibly he is the one, she is the one we are missing the most. When would typically Z5 as a platform put a film under AWOT? when it has been exposed, when I know that my consumer will not come and pay me, right? I mean, when we are looking
Very
at
valid point.
when we are looking at data, we are looking at whether this content is going to be an acquisition driver or a retention driver, right? Will somebody come and make me a payment basis this release? Or whoever has made a payment, do I have enough for him to keep watching? Will he retain on my platform because I am giving him content? Now, a film that has been exposed for a long time in theaters or forget theaters, but say television. I mean, after theater, where did all these older films go? They went on television. They possibly went on a Z Cinema, on a Colors, or on a Sony, Suryavansham. Suryavansham possibly somebody will come and pay for. Maybe a Tarzan the Wonder Car somebody will pay for. People still pay for Andaz Apna Apna, right? But there's a huge library that people may not make a subscription for. It possibly sits as part of my long tail content. Now, either if I'm a complete SWOT model, I'll say, okay, you've come for these 3-4 acquisition drivers, there's also this is what you'll get as part of subscription. But if they're not going to get consumed as part of subscription, because whoever is paying me a subscription is either paying me for the newer films, the newer commercial films, the digital originals or my series, then what do I do with these films? They just sit in the catalog and never get exposed. And therefore, they are opened up for those audiences on AWOT so that you make money and I make money and it's a sustainable model for all, right? So please don't look at what do I want to do with the film, right? I mean, that of course is a big filter when you're a creator or a producer and when you want to make money, but what does the consumer want? It has to be a win-win for both you as a creator and me as a platform.
Right. The gentleman there who's standing.
Yeah, hi. I'm a filmmaker and I think I have a question on behalf of many filmmakers who had the same question, I think. What if we have original scripts that we want to pitch to the OTT platforms? Because if we want to get with them from the development stage itself, and because a lot of the times we are unable to find the key channel through which we can reach the OTTs themselves, because there are a lot of...
Can I give you my email ID?
Okay, yeah, I can get your email. Yes, of course. So the thing is, a lot of the times there are intermediate companies which are, when we talk to, I'm from Pondicherry, but when we talk to production companies in Chennai, there are intermediate companies which claim to get our scripts seen by either Netflix or Amazon or any of the bigger Z or any of the bigger platforms. So how do creators directly get in touch if we think we have something of value?
So I mean, we have content teams sitting in Bombay, in Mumbai, and you can directly approach us with your script with like a synopsis or a log line and stuff like that. If it falls within the slate that we are planning for going ahead, I mean, we'll definitely look at your screenplay and take it from there.
Are you looking for an email ID? Because
yeah,
it's all there.
Yeah, it's there.
It is all there. It's on
okay.
Z platform and Netflix and Amazon. You can submit your projects.
But it's very easy, and we are really looking at getting good content from independent filmmakers. So please don't hesitate in doing that, because as a company we feel that there are great stories that can be found anywhere, can travel anywhere in the world, can be consumed anywhere in the world at any time, on any device. So please reach out to us.
Yeah, we've actually done so much of this already. We are launching some 24 shows in Tamil this year, We have content teams across every region that we are creating content in. So please seek an appointment there and please go and meet them. We are very happy to any series concepts you have or any straight to digital films you have. We're very happy to.
That's very encouraging. The lady with the mic.
Hello, I just wondered how you deal or curate with political bias, race discrimination. Now that you're getting, especially to Netflix, you're getting lots of international, you're commissioning and you're showing lots of international films. How do you stop, I mean, like if you're run by data, how do you stop inflammatory? This has been happening with Facebook, hasn't it? So I'm just wondering how you guys cope with that.
I would really request you to repeat the last bit, please.
Well, Facebook has been questioned about what it lets go out and what doesn't, and I'm just asking how you stop inflammatory films that may have a political bias when your data may say that there is a real need for it, or I mean not appetite for it.
Let me get this right. You are asking for the filtering process of content on Netflix.
to do with politics and race.
To do with politics, anti-national or sexuality?
Yeah. Well,
content.
no, but more to do with discrimination.
More to do with discrimination, the angle of discrimination. How do you filter the content?
So we are very clear about, I mean, if it's political, we stay out of it for sure. And if it's anything that can kind of, upset any religious sentiments and stuff like that, we definitely stay out of that. So that's a clear mandate and that's a clear filter that our content teams are aware of. In terms of discrimination, I mean, this is very subjective. I mean, it then depends on the treatment and, so I won't be able to point my finger to say that, this is exactly the way it happens and this can happen or this cannot happen. It depends on how the film is or the series is kind of told by the creative talent. There are always two sides to a story. So, there is a way of, communicating your idea as a creative talent. We do allow a creative talent to, tell stories that we feel should be told. But at the same time, we are very conscious about something that's political or that is something that could, upset religious sentiments and stuff like that.
Have we answered your question, ma'am? I think we addressed that. The next person with the mic, I can't. Yes, sir. Yeah, please go.
So, adding to the question that he asked about the script, so I have a film which is already finished. It's made in Telugu and English. It's an English film. So my question is, when we want to approach OTT platforms, I'm sure there are like aggregators, and I hear these words when I try to talk to people. But what do you suggest is the best way to, approach to pitch our projects with you? And second thing is, do we have to share the whole film with you, or you take a look at the trailers and teasers first and then you give us a call? It's repeating.
Aparna, just, mention that. Script, synopsis, topic, anything that you want to submit at any stage, you're welcome to do that on their platform. But Aashish may want to tell about Netflix.
So I think you're talking about a ready film, as opposed to an original.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I mean, we definitely would like to see the film. I mean, we see the film and then kind of evaluate, because there's a certain quality control in terms of the specs and stuff like that is something that we also have to check on apart from the material creatively.
Okay.
And but yeah, you can approach us directly in case you have an issue about reaching out to the people who are handling it, which is also possible because there are so many submissions on a daily basis and there are so many films that are ready in India. I mean, then you could use the aggregator route, because then they can, pitch 10 at a time and then we kind of decide and filter it. So it depends on, what kind of access you have.
Okay. I have one more question. In case if we email, the synopsis and, request you to take a look at the film, how much time do you take to revert back? Like
a lot of time.
Approximately.
Have you seen our population? Have you seen our submissions? Have you seen how filmmakers can hound studios? A lot of time. I don't think anybody can give a specific answer to that, but you can give an outbound time.
Outbound time, I mean, I would like say about 3 months in the worst case scenario.
Okay.
But, there are times when we've received stuff that is content that's like really compelling.
Okay.
And the minute you see that trailer, you say, oh wow, what is this? Let's get this done. Because obviously, we are also hungry for good content, So it actually depends on where your content is sitting. Is it really compelling? Or is it one of those that maybe we could do it, let's see some other content and then decide?
Okay.
Can I ask a question on behalf of you? How much can we follow up? How much can we spam your mailboxes after we've submitted a concept to you?
As much as you want, because like I said, we are hungry and we can...
Will we be blocked?
No, not at all. We try our best to, and we then respectively decline it. So, I mean, there reaches a point where there's a team that's in place that will, write back to you to say that, sorry, we won't be able to take this, we'll pass this for now. But you will get an answer for sure.
Sure, thank you.
Lady with the mic.
So my question is, since OTT is kind of the future of distribution films right now, and even other mediums, India has a very long history of films which has been lost because they were not preserved and restored. So is there any way that OTTs can expand to that avenue of restoring and preserving old films through negatives or something?
Can I take this question? Because NFDC actually restores a lot of classics, and we do reach out to all these platforms for showcasing, and we've had a tremendous success with all these restored films. With Z, with Netflix, with Amazon, Hotstar, we are everywhere. So if there are films and if they are curated, because the good thing is these platforms are curated. So if you fall in the mandate of that, of course those films have a life. And now with award coming, you'll see magic of old films coming back.
Okay.
We have Alamara. You have Alamara, the first film.
Okay.
Next, please. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Ayush. I just wanted to ask this question. There has been content which has been prepared in a foreign language but has been accepted by a wider audience. On the other side, there has been content which, let's say, it has won the National Award for a Best Feature Film, but then it has been labeled as regional by the OTT platforms. Now, that content which has already done a decent box office has got a good credential by winning a national award. My question is, on behalf of the OTT platform, your inclination is towards looking at the content, by the weight of content that it has, the quality of content it possesses, or in what better way you can market it well and get better fruits out of it. So there is some differentiation which I feel happens. So I just wanted to get some clarity on that factor.
Should I let Swaroop handle this, because you take care of most of the OTTs in India, not just Netflix and Z. What have you noticed when somebody wins an award and somebody has accolades and reads around their poster?
So
what
I'll
happens?
tell you, if you won a national award, you're welcome at Doordarshan also, terrestrial. You get a lip-smacking deal which other Bollywood films may not get. There's a flip side. A Bollywood film may get great numbers, MGs from an Amazon or a Star Gold or XYZ, but you're up there on Doordarshan, which has got a very wide footprint in today's television, reach. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is that, I was talking about the content part of an indie film. Now, if your film's an independent film, it's got a national award, I think there's a very rare chance that any OTT platform will say no to you, because they look at these films very curiously, national award winner or, next festival winner or any other, awards that you have gone to. What happens is, you must also look at it from an OTT point of view. See, they're running a business. Now, they have to profile their customers. Now, larger customer base is consuming, wider content, which is, we all know, is, popular Bollywood films. That's where their customers are coming from. That's where their subscriptions are driven from. The number of indie films is very minuscule when you look at the larger operating business. But having a national award winner or a film which has traveled, to multiple festivals and awards and has got recognition also sits at a very prime, seating on an OTT platform. Now, we've had, some discussions on a film like a Tiger or a Cabaret or, any other film that I can probably recall. Well, national award-winning films are available. I mean, we have our Marathi films available on a Sony, on a Sony Marathi channel, for a regional channel, which and most of the films have won national awards. So there are buyers. It's how, see, we get stuck with one simple thing. Why am I not available on one specific platform? I know it's very prestigious, but you have to also look at economics. You have to be a little, opportunistic in terms of licensing your film. Where will it stand good? Where am I going to get a good deal? Where will I not be arm twisted? Where will it be an assignment deal? So your regional film, if it's got a national award, well, you can apply to DD. You can get a slot. Your local channels will love to program it.
Right.
Why are we not looking at also licensing your content at a local level?
Swaroop, I always get involved in these conversations. I've run out of time. I'm going to take the last question.
Okay.
Kindly pass the mic. The person with the mic behind. Sorry, I can't take those questions, but do take your appointments. They're here around. Meet them, catch them, and ask all your questions. So go.
Hi, a big thank you to all the panelists for enlightening us, today. My question is about to the gentleman from Netflix. This whole theatrical release versus release on the OTT platform. So Irishman is one example. Is the same thing going to be followed also for Indian original film content?
So honestly, in India, we don't yet have a plan to have any theatrical releases. But tomorrow, if there's a film that could go to a festival or win awards, I mean, we could possibly consider it. But for the timing, we don't have any plans of any theatrical releases in India.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a lovely audience. And thank you, Swaroop, Aashish and Aparna for taking time. And of course, JS, IB Ministry. Lancy, over to you. Thank you for having us.